This story is titled, "My Wife Pawned Her Wedding Ring to Pay for a Fun Trip with Her Friends." But when she returns, she finds the house half empty and divorce papers waiting for her. This is the first time I've posted here, and honestly, I'm doing it because I need objective advice from people outside my relationship. I'm 34 years old, and I've been married for 6 years to my wife, Julia, who is 31. Like most couples, we went through the honeymoon phase and stages of arguments, but I always thought we had a solid foundation. A little about me: I am a goldsmith. For those who are not familiar with my work, it consists of working with various metals such as gold, silver, and platinum to create or repair objects, mainly jewelry. For me, it is more than a job. It is a trade to which I have dedicated years of practice. Whether forging, welding, casting, or engraving, each step of the process requires careful focus and time. Each piece I make feels like a part of me, something I have put my time and creativity into. When Julia and I got engaged, I knew I didn't want to buy her a ring from a store. I wanted to make something that truly reflected our unique and meaningful relationship. I spent weeks designing and making her ring. I chose 375 gold as a base and set a black diamond in the center. It wasn't the most expensive ring in the world. The materials cost about $3,300, but what made it invaluable to me was the thought and effort behind it. When I gave her the ring, Julia was excited. She said it was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen and promised to treasure it forever. For 6 years, she wore it every day. Or at least that's what I thought. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed she wasn't wearing the ring. At first, I thought she had forgotten it, but as the days went by, it became clear that it wasn't a one-off thing. When I asked her about it, she told me she had taken it to a jewelry store to have it cleaned. That answer didn't convince me. I am a goldsmith. If her ring needed cleaning or repairs, why wouldn't she come to me? But I didn't want to seem paranoid or controlling, so I let it go. Then, out of nowhere, Julia told me she was going on a trip with her two best friends. She described it as a casual getaway, something they had planned last minute. But the timing couldn't be more suspicious. We've been trying to save money for months. Our house needs major repairs, and we agreed to cut back on unnecessary expenses. Julia even said that we couldn't afford little luxuries like romantic dates or new furniture. So, how could she suddenly afford this trip? When I asked her, she got defensive. She said she had saved a little here and there, and that I shouldn't worry. But something in her tone made me suspicious. I pressed for details, and after some hesitation, she admitted the truth. She had pawned her wedding ring to pay for the trip. I don't even know how to describe what I felt at that moment. I'm not that good with words. It wasn't just that she pawned something valuable, it was that she pawned that ring. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of our marriage, a representation of everything I thought we were. When I asked her why she didn't talk to me before making such an important decision, she downplayed it. "It's just a ring," she said. "I can get it back later." That answer stunned me. It seemed like she didn't understand or care what the ring meant to me. It wasn't just about the money or the time I spent making it. It was about what it represented: love, commitment, and all the effort we've put into this relationship. Julia acted like I was overreacting, saying that I needed to relax and stop making her feel guilty for wanting to enjoy herself. She said the trip was important to her, that she deserved some time with her friends, and that I was being unreasonable by making this about the ring. I felt like she wasn't just disregarding the ring, but everything it symbolized. How could she see it as a mere object? Maybe it's my profession, but that ring had so much meaning to me, especially because I believed it was the one thing she would never sacrifice. And yet, she pawned it so easily. I couldn't stay in the house after that conversation. I took my keys and left. I was driving aimlessly for hours, my mind replaying the argument over and over again. I was trying to justify her actions, thinking maybe I was overreacting. But no matter how I rationalized it, I couldn't stop feeling betrayed. Now I'm sitting in my car writing this post because I don't know what else to do. This whole situation has made me question so many things about our relationship. How can I move on with someone who doesn't seem to value the things that are important to me? I know some people might say it's just a ring, but to me, it's so much more. It's not about the cost or the materials. It's about what it represents. I feel like Julia's actions go beyond the ring itself. This has to do with trust, communication, and respect. I love Julia, but this feels like a huge disconnect in how we view our marriage. I'm trying to stay calm and be rational, but it's costing me a lot. A part of me wants to forgive her, but another part feels like this is a bigger problem than just the ring or the trip. So, Reddit, am I overreacting? Is this just a bad moment, or is it a sign of deeper problems in our marriage? How can I address this without it becoming another argument? Here's where I need your perspective to help me see this problem from another angle. Update 1. Thanks, Reddit, for all the responses to my original post. I didn't expect to receive so many, but I appreciate every comment, whether supportive or critical. If I have to draw a conclusion from the comments, the main suggestion was that I should have an honest and calm conversation with Julia to explain how her actions made me feel. That was exactly what I decided to do. After taking a day to sort things out in my head, I sat down with Julia because I think talking without being clear only contributes to arguments. I started by telling her that this wasn't just about the ring. It was about what the ring represented and how her decision to pawn it felt like a lack of consideration for everything it symbolized. I explained to her how much effort and love I had put into creating it, how it was much more than an object to me. Essentially, the things I mentioned in my previous post, which many of you said I should pass on to her. At first, she listened in silence, but then she started getting defensive. She said she didn't understand why I was so upset, as in her mind, the ring wasn't lost forever, it was just temporarily out of reach. She told me that she planned to get it back as soon as she could, and that I was overreacting by making it a bigger problem than it was. I was trying to stay calm, but her attitude frustrated me. I told her it wasn't about whether she could get the ring back or not, it was about the fact that she made a major decision without even talking to me. I told her that I felt like she didn't respect the effort I put into creating something so personal and meaningful. That's when the conversation started to get out of hand. Julia said that she didn't think she needed my permission to make decisions about her belongings and accused me of being controlling. She said the ring was hers, not mine, and that I was acting like I owned her just because I made it. That accusation hurt me. I have never considered myself a controlling person, and I don't think that's what I was doing. I tried to explain to her that it wasn't about control, it was about respect and communication. I told her that if the roles were reversed, I would never sell or pawn something so important to her without discussing it first. I asked her how she would feel if I did the same with something that was meaningful to her. Her response was cold. She said, "If you are so attached to a piece of jewelry, maybe you should rethink what marriage is really about." I didn't even know what to say. I felt like she didn't care at all about what I was telling her and that she only wanted to make it about her. At that moment, I realized that we weren't going to get anywhere. She wasn't willing to see things from my perspective, and I couldn't get her to understand how much this had hurt me. The argument ended with her going off to the bedroom and me staying in the living room. The next morning, things were tense. Julia barely spoke to me and left for work after saying only a few words. Later that day, she sent me a message in response to my attempt to reconcile, asking if we could meet and try to come to some sort of resolution. Her response was blunt. "There is nothing to get back together with. I have made my plans, and I am not going to cancel them just because you are upset." That was all. Julia was moving forward with the trip, and there was nothing I could say to change her decision. I spent the next few days trying to concentrate on work, but it was difficult. Every time I thought about the situation, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I began to wonder if this was about more than just the ring or the trip. Was it a sign of a deeper problem in our relationship? Were we growing apart without realizing it? One night, after another awkward, silent dinner, I decided to dig a little deeper into the details of the trip. Julia had mentioned that she would be staying at a resort, but she hadn't given me much information. Something about all of this didn't add up, so I started to investigate. I knew that one of her best friends, Amanda, had planned the trip. So, I checked Amanda's social media, looking for posts about it. Sure enough, there were pictures and excited comments about the trip, girls' trip. That's when I noticed something strange. In one of the posts, Amanda mentioned that her new boyfriend had covered part of the costs of the trip for her. Julia hadn't mentioned anything about this, but it made me think. Was her decision to pawn the ring simply to follow what she saw her friend doing? The more I thought about it, the more sense it made. Julia had always been close to Amanda and seemed to admire her lifestyle. I wouldn't be surprised if she felt pressure to match that, even if it meant making questionable decisions. I couldn't shake the feeling that Julia wasn't being completely honest with me. The way she ignored my concerns, the lack of transparency about the trip, and her refusal to consider my perspective were all red flags. At this point, I don't even know how to address her when she returns from the trip. Part of me wants to wait and see if she realizes she's wrong and apologizes, but another part of me feels like I need to set a boundary and make it clear that this behavior is not acceptable. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward from here. Should I suggest couples therapy? Should I give her an ultimatum? Or do I need to seriously consider if this relationship is still working for me? Right now, I feel trapped. I love Julia, but I don't know if love is enough to solve this. You can't maintain a relationship with love alone, especially when it seems that only one of the parties feels love for the other. Update 2. I have to thank everyone again for the advice and support. The truth is, you've all been incredibly helpful. I've spent the last few days trying to process everything that's happening and understand the situation. Unfortunately, things have only gotten worse since my last post, and I feel like I no longer recognize the person I married. Since my last update, something kept telling me that Julia was not being completely honest with me about this trip. Between her defensiveness, the lack of communication, and the fact that she pawned her wedding ring to pay for it, something didn't add up. So I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I did some research. I started looking into the resort Julia had mentioned. She had been vague about the location, saying only that it was a nice place out of state. When I finally found the resort's website, I discovered something interesting. It was a 5-star luxury resort with rates much higher than I thought she could afford, even with the money she got from pawning the ring. We're talking several $100s a night per person, not including food, drinks, or activities. How could she justify this when we've been saving and tightening our belts for months? Then I remembered Amanda's social media posts and looked at her page more closely. That's when I noticed something interesting in one of her posts. Amanda was thanking her boyfriend for covering part of the trip expenses and jokingly saying that everyone needs a sugar daddy from time to time. Amanda and her friends have always seemed like questionable people I didn't trust. I wasn't surprised by Amanda's behavior. She has always been someone who negatively influences Julia, leading her to do things she normally wouldn't do. I had already tried to talk to Julia before about the type of friendship she had, but she told me that I just needed to trust her and that she wouldn't be influenced. So I let the subject go, because I felt that I had already said what I needed to say. I love my wife, but I definitely don't trust her ability to resist social pressure, especially when it comes from these friends. But back to the main topic, I discovered something that changed everything. While Julia was at work, I saw that she had left her laptop open. I noticed a notification from a group chat with Amanda and her other friend Carrie. I know I shouldn't have done it, but at that moment, I felt like I had no other choice. The chat confirmed my worst fears. This wasn't just a girls' trip, it was a free pass to act like singles. They didn't just plan to go to clubs and get drunk, but also to flirt with other men and, according to their words, see what would happen. Julia hadn't mentioned any of this to me. In fact, according to what I read, they had decided to keep it a secret to avoid drama. Julia wanted to go out and act like she was single again with her friends, who, by the way, also have partners. The chat also confirmed another reason why she pawned the ring, to use it as an excuse not to wear it. This was a total betrayal. There was a message from Amanda that stuck in my head. Don't let him ruin your fun. You deserve this, and if he can't handle it, you should have fun. That's his problem. Besides, he's not going to find out. Another message from Carrie said, it will blow over on its own. Tell him you're with us, and he won't suspect anything. I realized that Julia had been lying to me from the beginning. She knew this trip would hurt me and damage our relationship, but still, she chose to do it secretly and hoped I wouldn't find out. I hesitated about whether to confront her before or after the trip. A part of me wanted to wait and see if she reconsidered. Maybe she would realize it wasn't worth it. But in the end, I decided not to say anything and let her go while I planned how to handle this in the future. Even if I gave her the benefit of the doubt, this woman was acting behind my back and lying to me. She planned to go out dancing in clubs and act like she was single. Even if she didn't technically cheat on me during the trip, I don't think I could trust her again in this marriage. The next day, Julia left for the trip. Our last conversation before she left was brief. She said she didn't want to discuss the ring any further and that we would talk when she got back. I didn't tell her what I knew because I wanted to see if she would reconsider the trip without me saying anything, but I had no doubt she left as if it was no big deal. She was planning to do exactly what she discussed with her friends. I think that after this, there is no way to save our relationship. Even if I can prove that she hasn't been unfaithful to me on the trip, which is practically impossible, the trust is completely broken. I've been thinking a lot about what to do when she returns. Some of you suggested trying to work things out, but that is no longer a possibility in our marriage. I don't want to be married to someone who doesn't care. What would be the reason to continue? She acted behind my back and didn't value any of the years we spent together. This is something very serious for me. I hate unfaithful people, and even if technically she hasn't done anything, I will never know for sure.
Who am I going to ask?
Julia and her friends? The only person I'm going to ask is my lawyer. He's the only one who has answers now. Update 3. I'm back with what I think will be my final update since Julia came back. Many things have happened since her trip, and I have had to make difficult decisions. It is not what I would have wanted when I started writing these posts, but it is what is necessary at this time. When Julia returned from her trip, perhaps she expected me to be there to receive her. Or perhaps not. At this point, I think I don't care what she thought she would find at home. If she expected to find a submissive man with dinner ready and asking her how her trip went, I'm sorry. That wasn't going to happen. The only thing she found was the half-empty house, my phone number blocked, and divorce papers on the kitchen table. The last thing could be considered dinner, though I don't think that's something a married woman would expect to find when she comes home after several days. But it is the price to pay for disrespecting marriage. Some will think I did wrong by leaving her the house, but with the actions and renovations that it needs, I prefer that she buy my share and let me find a new place. Plus, I don't want to wake up every day and remember that I lived there with Julia, my unfaithful ex-wife, something that I will elaborate on later. I blocked her number too, because there was no point in discussing anything. She spoke to some friends of mine to explain why I had left her and was asking for a divorce. But my friends, who already know the whole story, including things I haven't told but will share later in this update, told her that I just want us to communicate through the lawyers. It's best to save ourselves from the possible crocodile tears and the typical phrases of the unfaithful, like "it was a mistake" or "it will not happen again," and to move on. Even a friend of hers, who is not at all like the ones in the group she went on the trip with, told her that she was selfish and that if she was able to leave a man like me, maybe she should keep it. I think calling her Julia's friend is not 100% correct at this time. And before you tell me in the comments, there is nothing between me and this friend. She simply hates cheaters like many people do and said the first thing that came to mind to hurt Julia when she asked her about me. We don't have a relationship and we're not going to have one. I think neither of us is the type of person the other likes, but I appreciate that she supported me. The easy thing in these cases is for the friend of the unfaithful woman to support her no matter what. However, she is a woman with convictions, which I highly value. The divorce should be simple as long as Julia accepts the terms. I think the terms are quite fair. She can keep the house or sell it, as long as she pays me my half. We both contributed to buying that house. In exchange, I have already taken my things and found a new place. I am not going to pay spousal support despite having earned more during our marriage. She can accept it, or we will go to court to prove her infidelity, which I don't think will be too difficult at this point. Something else that has been happening is that, although I don't know her friends' boyfriends too well, I thought it was the right thing to inform them about her plans. I did it a few hours before my ex-wife left the house. When the partners of these women were probably also being cheated on, they deserved to know. Now, there must be a mole among the group of girls who traveled, because one of them leaked photos of a trip. Of course, there were photos of my ex-wife kissing another man, evidence that will now be very useful for my divorce if she doesn't agree to sign the papers. I would prefer that she sign the papers and be done with it. But if she decides to fight, I can present all these photos, where she appears being more than affectionate with a guy she likely met minutes before. Whether this is my last update will depend on my ex-wife and whether she wants to fight or not. I know she is not officially my ex-wife yet, but I already consider her as such because I have no sentimental ties to her. All that remains is for it to become official. Before I say goodbye to this update, I think I should talk about the ring. It is still pawned as far as I know, and it will remain so. If you ask me, That ring was part of our relationship, and now that the relationship has been destroyed, it's not worth getting it back. I could try just to destroy it, but it's not worth it, just like this marriage isn't worth it. Update 4. Yes, my ex-wife wanted to give me a battle over the divorce. But at least I can say that she is now officially my ex-wife. For some people, their wedding day is the happiest day of their lives. For me, it was the day the judge said I was no longer married to that psycho person. I know it's a strong insult, but as I said, she could have signed the papers and been done with it. Instead, she chose to fight and put on a show to try to get something out of me. It's a real shame she didn't get what she wanted. When she refused to sign the papers and fought the divorce, my lawyer and I presented evidence of her infidelity. She tried to act as if it was nothing, claiming that we had come to an understanding that we were in an open marriage. It's funny because until that moment, I didn't know we had one. Naturally, it was difficult for her to prove this. Even when her friends tried to testify as witnesses, claiming that I had agreed to an open marriage and had even tried to flirt with them, their lies didn't hold up. I understand that these testimonies must have been the work of her so-called friends, those creeping snakes. It's no wonder they were so angry as to lie in a divorce trial. In the end, many of them lost their sugar daddies because of me. Here, I want to make a small deviation on this topic. What's the point of being a sugar daddy if you're going to pay for a woman's trip, only for her to show proof that she was in a relationship and had been unfaithful during the trip? The judge literally adjusted his glasses and looked at them with a mix of disbelief and incredulity. I can only imagine what he was thinking. Probably something like, "This must be a joke. It has to be. And I'm too old for these things." Finally, my ex-wife and her friends were fined for lying and wasting the court's time. Not only that, but the judge decided to award me a larger share of the house than I had initially offered. This meant that my ex had to sell the house and then pay me my share since she couldn't afford to keep it. Any sensible person would have taken the easy way out. I had already given up on the marriage. But at the same time, no sane person would have listened to the kind of friends she had, friends who, one day during the divorce trial, even showed up with the wedding ring. This was before I presented evidence of her infidelity, and she knew I had the evidence. She told me that she had already recovered that stupid ring, and that we could stop messing around and work things out like mature adults. I told her the ring wouldn't change anything, and that she had just wasted more money. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.